the Subjective Perspective Show. You're free to be on the Subjective Perspective Show. You're free like we on the Subjective Perspective Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Episode 162 of the Subjective Perspective Show. And we're airing it from the farm out here. There's a farm out here we're at. Now, we have a very special episode for you all. And this is somebody who I know personally, who was a student of mine back in 2021. His name is Cormier. He was the valedictorian of Menlo College, which is in Silicon Valley, an incredible college, and for the class of 2024. I'm excited. I'm honored. I'm pumped to bring you forth one of the nicest young people coming out of Generation Z that I've ever met, and I really want to explore how he became a valedictorian. I want to get into a bit of what he does in the business sector as he does stuff that I'm not even aware of. I know dealing with data and so forth. So, without any further ado, from our farm out here, let's go into episode 162. Kick you off. The musical break. PSP. Check us out. Subjective Perspective. All that be awoke.com.
On that old county road, there's a house on a hill. Out in West Virginia, old, wild, wonderful. Where them trees touch the sky and the blues touch the greens. Where them roads lead to nowhere, but they find everything. These roads brought us to our home. These roads brought us to our home. These country roads become our home. These country roads, these country roads. These roads brought us to our home. These country roads become our home. These country roads. When that sweet supper time smell permeates the air, while my wife cooks a big old pot of that macaroni fare. Why them stars shine their light on that Appalachian Trail, where we thank the good Lord every night for these good times we feel. It's happening right here at our home. It's happening right here at our home. These country roads become our home. These country roads, these country roads. It's happening right here at our home. It's happening right here at our home. These country roads become our home. Out in Jackson's Mill on that hill, we sing and dance all night. There's a jubilee happening round here, so tell everyone inside. inside and sing your song and dance your dance and eat that food from God's graced hand. 'Cause it's almost heaven here at our home.
It's almost heaven here at home.
These country roads become our home.
These country roads become our home.
It's almost heaven here at home.
It's almost heaven here at home.
The country roads become our home.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 162, guest featuring the one and only valedictorian, class of 2024, Menlo College, Connor Cormier. Connor, brother, first off, gave a nice little intro with a little musical accompaniment coming on in. Uh, for those that may not have seen the intro, you were a student of mine, and I have a great respect for you. So I'm really excited about this conversation, brother. Okay. So Connor, my man, brother. First off, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Doing pretty well
Yeah,
today.
yeah, brother. So I want to find out what part of the world you're in a moment too, man. Because wherever you are, man, you got that good vibe, brother. I want to see what that is, man. So, Connor, as I've mentioned this in prior episodes, for those that may be tuning in for their first time, I like to give like a consciousness sandwich, a thought sandwich in a way, where I go with some of the most simple questions to start out. Then we get a little more abstract and develop some really cool ideas. And we come back down to some simple questions. So some of the real simple ones at the end, I've asked people of gosh, going on 162 episodes. So there was one person where there's a question that I'm going to ask you about an hour or so that never got the opportunity to answer it. His name is Graham Hancock, and he had like the number one series on Netflix within the past year called Ancient Apocalypse. So, Connor, we'll talk about that. But as I was about to ask him that question, he was losing signal, and everybody could hear this on that episode with Graham back in the day now. So, Connor, my brother, first off, my man, great to see you. You've always inspired me in the classroom, man. As I was watching my students do that thing, you were always a top dog. So let's get into this thing. Brother, where you born and raised?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in San Jose, California, South San Jose, because
San
San Jose is
Jose.
a pretty big city, and currently living here now, so that's where I'm calling from.
All right, now, San Jose, one of the one of the coolest places on earth. Some great music from that way. Also, a band called the Doobie Brothers from back in the day. I believe they were from San Jose. And San Jose has such a history. I've spent many years of my life out there. So, in terms of San Jose, Connor, for those that may be tuning in from abroad, how far from Silicon Valley is that? Is that in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, that is in Silicon Valley, kind of just well, I'm South San Jose, so I'm kind of a little more out, kind of little more out there, like not it's not really a city vibe, more like suburban kind of country vibe where I'm at, but probably 10-15 minutes away is, downtown San Jose, Santa Clara, kind of the hub where, it all goes down, Apple headquarters.
You know, for those that will be finding out throughout this episode, I've lectured at a incredible college, Menlo College, out in Silicon Valley, and I had the opportunity to lecture a couple courses. One course was business communications. That's
Oh
where
yeah.
Connor and I met a couple years back now, and to hear what you've done it's incredible. It doesn't surprise me, but I want to delve into your journey, how you became a valedictorian. That's not easy. And tell you, there's a lot of students there from all around the world that are incredibly smart individuals. And that's why, brother, when I watched you in the classroom, I was like, hey man, this dude stands out. There's something about him. And obviously a couple of years later, bravo, my man. Very, very, very proud of you. So listen, man. So San Jose, California. For those tuning on in California, arguably one of the most beautiful states in the union. The coastline is just incredible. You can go down PCH, you go all the way down to SoCal, go all the way to NorCal. I've done that ride with Miss D, with Lisa TSP, as well as the synonymous Connor. So you know us more as the Mr. Mrs. Professor yada yada. Though for those that have tuned in for a couple of years, over 10 years, gosh, Lisa TSP, big shout out to the sound engineer behind all this, Connor. The reason I'm the audio, I'm the social engineer. I could talk, as you know that. I could go, bro. But Lisa does the technical stuff, so that's why this is able to function the way it does. So cool. Um, so you know, what's California like, brother? For people that have never been there, man. We're gonna have a lot of people listening who have never been to California. You're born and raised, man. I'll ask you this: how has California changed and or stayed similar? From when you were maybe 10 years young to in your 20s now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned it. It might be one of the most beautiful states, but I think it's pretty undisputed. I think it's a clear winner, at least in my opinion.
Right on.
But kind of just growing up here my whole life, it's kind of trying to think. Yeah, just the state's just so big, and I feel like I really haven't explored even like 20% of it. For example, I'm very familiar with just like the Bay Area, but I've like there's a lot of parts of California where I meet people who are from like some small town like in NorCal or in the Central Valley, and I've like never heard of that place, never been there, you
Yeah,
know?
I
Yeah.
probably lived there. I lived so many places, Connor, when for many years throughout California before we started to settle down a bit.
Mhm.
Um, but we lived, gosh, in Salinas Valley, we started out in, and
Okay.
then sort of, ended up in the Bay Area. Then after class 2021 with my brilliant class that was too. Brilliant class y'all were. Ended in the Central Valley, out by Merced. So just about 45 minutes south of Modesto. So and Misty, Lisa TSP and myself, we're musicians. So we've toured throughout California. And
Mhm.
it's so diverse, the landscape. It's so beautiful from the deserts to the redwoods to the ocean to the valleys. I mean, it's gorgeous. And obviously, every state from where or every country's got gorgeous aspects to it. And just speaking on where our featured guest is from, San Jose, California, man, San Ho, for those who know. Okay, now, so Connor, brother, so college, just starting out at what initially got you into the college process? Because we may have, people thinking about the college process that maybe, in their adulthood, but they're curious about if they want to go back to college. There's just so much going on these days with trying to make a dollar. It's definitely important to be working. Um, but college can be done at the same time, and it's a difficult uh road sometimes because I've taken that road, though it got me to where I want to get to because I had that vision of where I wanted to go. I think that's
Mhm.
one of the key aspects is knowing where you want to go before you start that process. A lot of people find themselves in that process and they'll kick around lots of different options and different majors, and I understand that. But if you are wise enough to be, have a bit of foresight and say, oh, well, 5 years down the road, how am I going to use this degree? Is my heart really there? So I was lucky in my early 20s. I knew I wanted to be an educator. I knew I wanted to get there. And so that's what I did for 20 plus years now. What about you, brother? When did it happen?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my well, I don't know how much wisdom I have to offer, but just when I actually my original plan wasn't even to go to Menlo at all, you know. Kind of when I was like a sophomore, junior in high school, I wanted to go to Santa Clara University, which is kind of just like right down. Well, yeah,
Great
even
school.
closer than Menlo is to where I grew up.
Wow.
But
Great
just
school. Menlo,
yeah,
great school, and Santa
I
Clara.
don't know. But just growing up, like middle school and high school, I was very kind of sports oriented. Like my parents always, they always like wanted me to do my best in school and in sports. So I always strive to try and get really good grades and, work as hard as I could in the classroom. But
Thank
I
you,
really
family. Big shout out to the family. Thank you for that.
big shout out
Honestly,
to the family.
huge aspect of success.
Yeah,
Really.
no, definitely.
Thank you.
No, and so I was pushed pretty hard, especially by my dad in both sports and school, but I really had no idea what like the end goal was going to be. Like I had no like I didn't know what I wanted to major in, didn't know even close what I wanted to do as a career, and like I'm still kind of figuring that part out. But and I've switched on like so many different things, so I'll get a little bit into that in a minute. But it was senior year of high school, and I just finished up wrestling, and I got into Santa Clara, but with not a whole lot of financial aid help. And I was majoring originally in psychology was my original major, but I hadn't started yet. And it's about like a month after wrestling season ended and COVID happened. So that was my senior year of high school. So it was pretty cool at the beginning because it happened right before spring break. So it was just like we got a 3 week long spring break, like let's go. But kind of as it kind of drew on a little more and it became clear that we weren't going to return back to school and I probably wasn't going to have a first semester of college. There was in that time Coach Martinez, who, that's another person that's been has been a role model, at least in my life. He reached out to me and he reached out to me during like a couple months earlier during wrestling season. I was like,
That's Menlo right there. That's Menlo,
yeah.
coach. Phenomenal coach. Phenomenal. Big shout out to Coach Martinez.
Yeah, I was like, oh, college wrestling, like everyone always talks about how hard it is compared to high school. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And he was like, let's just stay in touch. And then he reached out to me over COVID. And then kind of during that time, I was starting to imagine my life without doing a sport. And I feel like going into college, I needed something consistent with a plan, since as I said, like I had no idea what I wanted to do as a career or even really a major. Like I just picked a major just cause.
Why is just knowing that, Connor? At your age, at roughly 18, 17, 18, you were thinking, I'm assuming you were around 17, 18, thinking that, and you had the insight to say, okay, listen, this is who I am, and this is what's going to anchor me, make me more grounded in a way, and I need that athletic aspect in my life, which we'll get into the wrestling piece too, man. We're gonna get into fighting wrestling, so we'll get there in a little bit. It's like
Yeah.
I'm glad you set the stage for that, so everybody, the talk wrestling, we have an incredible wrestler right here with us as well. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay, apologize. Didn't mean to cut you off, but just to say where we left off, you were, saying, you need that wrestling to like be there, synonymously with, I should say not synonymously, but in conjunction with the college process. Apologize, sir.
Yeah. No, but it definitely just having that discipline, just throughout high school, I feel like that is what helped me kind of stay on track with school because I wasn't valedictorian in my high school, but I got fairly decent grades and I credit that mostly to sports because I've actually broken down the science of it and I actually performed a little worse in school when I wasn't actually in season because I'm kind of a procrastinator in a sense and I
I
found
hear
that when
you.
I have a
That's
tight
how I feel. That's how
schedule,
I am.
yeah, if I have a tight schedule, like if I have a sport like practice going on and stuff like that, I find that I'm able to I'm very efficient with getting my schoolwork done. But if I think that I have just like all this time on my hands, I actually will not get it done as fast. So that's kind of
Yeah,
what I figured
it's
out.
nice. That time is nice to sort of relax with. I know, brother. You're not alone.
But yeah, no, and then I kind of entered college again with all that uncertainty with COVID. And, unfortunately, we actually didn't get to have a season my freshman year of college.
Remember that? That was terrible. I remember that. Everybody was so bummed out, man. I know. So I worked with a lot of wrestlers. Some who were like you guys, like you all, your whole class were just monsters, man. Amazing. There's so many that came in prior. I was there from 2014, into the
Oh,
two
wow. Yeah.
2020. So I saw a whole lot of incredible people. And the one thing I got to tell you, Connor, And I just mentioned this to Lisa TSP. That like the strongest students, some of the strongest students were the ones that were like the athletic in the athletic, somewhere in athletic. Uh, they thrived. They strived to do great. And so it wasn't just on the field, on the mat, and on the court. It was, every aspect of their life they were looking to succeed and excel. So it was what an honor. What an honor, man, to work with you all. Just to say that to every one of you all that are checking this out. Hopefully everybody checks this out, man. But yeah, that was a blessing, man, to have that time there. So now you realized, all right, man, I got to do wrestling with this. Kept in touch with Coach Martinez.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's that, transition from high school to Menlo then? Does it go
Yeah.
right to Menlo?
No, no, yeah, well, I did actually. So, well, high school, I'm technically about to graduate from high school, but we didn't have any form of like a ceremony, and we didn't even have to do any more schoolwork for the last 3 months of school because of
Hey,
the
now.
pandemic. So, like, it was like basically, I was just kind of just sitting at home doing. I was fortunate enough to have some home gym equipment. I was just kind of working out, and you know, and I was like, damn,
That
like
works.
like as I said before, I need to, still have this in my life. So I kind of decommitted, if you will, to Santa Clara University, and Martinez gave me a generous wrestling scholarship, which my parents were pretty thrilled about.
Oh, nice. Very
And
nice, brother.
yeah, and I kind of made this.
It's
Well,
not cheap. It's not cheap.
no,
Any colleges
no,
nowadays, obviously, but some might be a little cheaper than others, though. Yeah,
yeah,
some you pay a couple dollars for college. I understand this. I've done this. I do understand this. So to get that scholarship, man, first off, congratulations on that. So that's 2020.
yep, that's 2020. Yep.
You did it in 4 years.
Yep, did it in 4 years, and which I almost didn't. Which I mentioned that a little bit about that to you last time we spoke. But I'll get into that as I'm kind of explaining this right now. But
And for
yeah,
everybody,
so
we've
I
talked
actually,
off air a couple times,
yeah,
Connor and I, catching up. So that's why.
yep.
So you didn't miss anything on an episode.
So I actually literally made that switch within like a day. Like I was all ready to go to Santa Clara one day, and then just one little phone call
Quick,
kind of made me just do a complete 180, and I was like, I'm doing this.
the M, got the M.
But then I'm like, God, never mind. Well, this is sports performance. This is like
Nice.
our lifting stuff, but
Yeah, great
representing
logo.
the Menlo
I,
shirt.
I remember when that logo was created. I remember when that came into being. Yeah, I remember because in 2014, it was more the tree. They had the acorn. Then
Yep.
I started to see a little later, a little more of the just not only say modern, some more cool like aspects to it. And which logo was cool. I got to teach that in our class. Logo aspects of
Oh
logo
yeah.
formation, you know, abstract iconography, all that good stuff. I know you guys are probably remembering that. Anybody checking this out at this point? But yeah, no. Oh, okay. So you go into Menlo 2020, and
Mhm.
it's distance education.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that part sucked. I was not a fan at all of, of the Zoom distance
difficult.
education. And then like I talked a little bit about this in my valedictorian speech. I didn't talk that much about COVID though, because I didn't want to sound too cliche, because I feel like that's what everyone's been kind of talking about. But I really started to I was really questioning at that time if I made the right choice to go to Menlo, or to even like go to college. I was questioning, like, maybe I should wait a year or two for this all to kind of blow over. But luckily we were still getting, which really fortunate to like all our weightlifting and sports performance coaches at Menlo, which they were still sending us at home workouts. They're getting really creative with some stuff to do. So I was still getting kept on track at least a little bit. But yeah, it was that year. I mean, I was just dealing with the distance learning stuff. It wasn't super eventful, but it's just kind of one of those
Oh,
things, got the
no.
job done.
For you guys, man, for all you that were graduating and went into that, I mean, that's one of the most exciting times in your life when you're like getting ready to go to college, the social aspect and get to meet all these new people. And I honestly couldn't even imagine if that had happened to me back in the 1990s, because I started college in 1996. I
Yeah.
would have been like, oh my gosh, obviously there was none of this technology existed. So it would
No.
have been We've been pretty Star Trek-y. Yeah, it's been pretty wild. Is that what happened? But just to have to not be able to connect with people, man. Distance education. Now, listen, I've I've been on both sides. I've been a student. I've been an educator of that. Luckily, I work to make my classes very much gosh similar to a class that's on campus where there's a lot of cerebral aspects of it where everybody's connecting. And now we had face to face, so you didn't get to see me in distance education, I don't think, right, Con? We had face to face. But prior to you I was teaching, so I did get a lot of good comments where people were saying, oh, I feel like I'm there. I'm like, okay, cool. So just for people to know, it could be done. It's difficult, but I don't have the book on me, but check out I'm Me, Teach Me I'm Me. I wrote this book, Connor, about my teaching methods. Wrote the book last year. Yeah, last year, edited last summer, wrote it, edited it uh throughout the year, published it initially December, then I edited, re-edited once more. And now it's up there. So yeah, if anybody's interested in learning how to teach, definitely check it on out because it's 20 years of experience in, like, you get the soft cover, I think it's 84 pages. The hardcover is maybe like 100 and something, 118, because I have some charts I made. Um, but it'll give, and I've taught all across America. I've taught people from all over the world. And so it's really cool. So check it out. It's experiential. So it's not going to be like a textbook. It's more conversational. So I think anybody, even a student, can learn from it because I have a lot of theorists and what makes a person who they are as a student as well. So it's cool. Um, okay, cool, cool, cool. So listen, I understand what you're saying, bro.
Yeah.
You're not the first person who has said that. They're like, oh, and then they didn't. I've heard people just fearful of going back. They're like, I don't want to go back. Some people have said they liked it. So I've had both things, but I've definitely had a lot of people say that was not what they were digging. So, okay, so now 2021, is that when we're back?
That was when we're back. Fall
Okay.
2021.
Okay, now fall 2021, that's when I have you.
Yeah.
You're in my class. Okay,
Yeah.
you and the entire man, I had some fighters in that class, some wrestlers from males, females that were incredible, man. So I won't start naming names, but you were in Connor's class, man. Come on. I don't forget faces. I don't forget people, especially my students. Especially my students. I have a lot of pride in the work I do with my students. Um, so okay, how was it getting back to campus, 2021? How does that unfold, brother?
Well, I was super nervous. I just remember just going back, like moving in my dorm. I was just, like I only really like been around like, my family and just a couple of friends for like the last like year and a half. So I was like, oh,
Wild, man. Totally. The perspective on that's crazy. Totally.
yeah, no, and sometimes, like I can get a little socially anxious sometimes, and definitely
Yes.
the whole COVID thing didn't help that when I was
Oh
coming
man.
back being, yeah,
Mm-mm.
I feel like a lot of people were that way too. But yeah, no, so it's definitely super, it was pretty nervous, but I was just happy to kind of also just be back in the classroom and actually it's starting to feel normal again. We're having practices, doing all that fun stuff.
Nice, nice. And hey, listen, it was my first semester back in too after being out for
Yeah.
a year. So I was also nervous. I hadn't been in front of an audience in a year. So I was like, oh my goodness. Because, when you're lecturing, a lot of it is being able to engage and being able to
Yeah.
connect. And yeah, I was with Miss D. I was with my wife. You
Yeah.
know, uh, gosh, here and there, but gosh, man, I know what you're saying, brother. Luckily, that was for me, it was a great semester. Um, and so you're there 2021, and remember, as we're growing, there's always going to be hiccups and,
Yeah.
peaks and valleys and all that. So the 2024, sort of just sort of expediting. Hmm. I hear, I get a message that you're a valedictorian. This is what I'm curious of. Okay, brother. Now that everybody sort of has a bit of how you get to college, everybody can fill in the blanks with the next 2, 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll expedite a little bit. So we got to get to a couple of the big topics I want to get to. Um, but you're valedictorian. First off, salute you, brother. That's not easy, as mentioned. And you're somebody who honestly deserves it. I think the people that are kind, and so many kind people there at Menlo, but for you to get that academically, you have to be sound, morally sound. Every aspect of you has to be, you know, you know, tip top. Um, okay, how does this unfold? How do you become valedictorian, brother? How does an individual become valedictorian? Because we have somebody watching this right now saying they're in the college process. I want to be top of my game. I want to be the Goggins of education. I want to do this thing. Yeah,
Educational.
how do I do this? How'd you do it,
Uh,
brother?
well, like, this honest, this is well, I have a couple little tips. To be honest, I don't really know. I was actually surprised when they reached out to me about it because I knew I had a high GPA, obviously, but like a lot of schools like Menlo doesn't always base off of that, and I wasn't, like I said, I'm not the most like social, like get out there, like student government type of guy. So I was just like kind of just wrestled and just went to school, but you know. I would say one big piece of advice is to just kind of find a mentor or someone, someone that's walked that has been in your shoes before. And that's like something that's not always super easy to do. So Mr. Hamanji, I think he's actually been
Uh,
on your
Matthew
show
is
before.
one of my friends, one of our guests on the show. I just talked to him now, a professor himself,
Yeah.
as a coach. As you just mentioned, go check out the episode with Matthew Mumj. It's an awesome episode, and we're gonna get him back on the show soon. Also, big shout out, Matthew. Proud of you, brother. Another one of my students. You guys are rocking it, man. Let's go, everybody.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
that's
so apologize.
yeah. So he was my teammate in high school, and he also coached me my senior year of high school. And he's always someone he's not well now we're kind of more like friends. He still gives me a lot of like guidance now, but then he was pretty hard on me like going into college and through that. And I remember freshman year he was like, he's like, you should try and be valedictorian. I was like, yeah, right, shut up. He's like, no, he's like, you need to make sure you get all A's, like this and that. And I was just like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, dude. And then but I feel like something that helped me the most though, aside from having a mentor, because he was someone if I struggled in a
He
class.
strives for the best, and he's done great work
Yeah.
receiving degrees, his master's, I think,
Oh,
in a year and a half, his bachelor's, I think, in 2 years.
gone through
Something
the yeah, I
he
took my
done it.
time.
Like we had him on the show, he talked all about it. But Matthew, he grinds, man. That's one of
Yeah.
the dudes right there. That's one of the dudes right there. Kills it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was just like, so
Apologize.
kind of my goal. Well, it was so over COVID. Also, I got a 4.0 both semesters, and like I'm not a guy to like just brag about it, but I was just kind of like, I need to. I'm a person who needs routine, and me showing up to class every day on Zoom or in person is kind of how it helps me kind of plan out my day. I feel kind of lost if I don't have some structure, like as I was kind of saying before. And for anybody that just I think wants to succeed in school is just you just gotta show up. I think in my like you just gotta make sure you show up every day, and
Great,
at least for the first 2 months at least for the first 2 months of the semester. After that, you can kind of miss some, but you really kind of gotta get ahead of it. Because even what I've noticed of even like some of the hard classes or hard courses you might take in at any level, high school, college, grad school, is that it's always going to start out pretty difficult. So if you're showing up in the first couple months, you're going to get it. And then when people start to fall behind, you're a professor as the semester goes along, people start to fall behind. A lot of people, especially in college, people won't show up for a couple weeks. Professors normally get a little more lenient. There could be some extra credit opportunities thrown in there. And, you can get to the point where if you just do that, there isn't a whole lot of pressure to do well on a final. And that's kind of what I did in most of my classes. There wasn't a whole lot of pressure. And yeah.
great points. Yeah, and yeah, Connor, it's so true. Being there, forget where it was said. 90% of it is just being there. 10% is the work you're doing. Whatever ratio someone wants to throw in, be there. You gotta show up. And like Connor says, everybody, you want to first off, you want to how would I say it? you want to start to assimilate yourself into that process. So you want this to be like become second nature.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no.
And like, with the 2 month rule, that kind of giving it builds that. It allows you to have that routine established. Now we want you there every day. But if something pops up, everybody understands. It might be a flat tire, it might be illness. Obviously, this is we are human. These things happen. So don't beat yourself up if you miss the day. Things happen. Though what Connor's saying is so true, everybody. And this goes for every aspect of success. And I've learned this now in my adulthood. Now on the other side of the coin, for many years, for decades now, as an educator. But finishing my doctoral degree in 2020 on Friday the 13th in November, Connor, 2020, I defended my dissertation. And I tell you, it was quite a defense, man. We definitely had a lot of questions coming at me. It was a
Okay.
lot. We rocked it though, brother. It was a pleasure. Did it, made it happen. But I started the college process in '96, so it's many years, 24 years, 10 degrees. But things happen in life. Stuck with
Wait,
it.
how many degrees did you say you got?
Well, I have my doctorate, so I, it, essentially I have my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree. I I've completed coursework for a PhD, just never went through with the dissertation. I transferred and I was right there. I finished the entire program, just did not do the dissertation. I had like a 3.9. Um, though ended up transferring to the university that I had received my doctorate of education. So it's
Wow.
four of them, I think it is, brother.
Wow.
And now listen, that was my path in life.
That's
Everybody
a
has a
lot.
different path. Brother, your path is what it is. And I want to get into the business sector in a moment here
Okay.
of what you're doing now. But we still have to get into the valedictory thing and more
Yeah,
insights I want to
a
get from
little
you.
more. Okay.
Get a little more in there. Um, uh, but gosh, I don't want to digress too deep. But just to put it out there that everybody has their own path. So some people may go through military. Some people may go right into want to go
Oh
into
yeah.
service or labor. And they, I'll tell you this: without labor workers, which is how I was raised. My father is 70 years young, still kicking carpets. People wouldn't have carpets in their homes. People wouldn't have plumbing. People wouldn't have the chairs that they're sitting on. This is a very important aspect of the roofs over our heads. You know, come on, we have to give that love to every aspect of industry. So that's why Connor's path is what it is. My path has been what it is. But I want you to know, whatever your path is, if you want to be a welder, get out there and weld. Weld,
Yeah.
like Connor says, show up every day and weld. Show up every day and do whatever you're going to do every day and be the best at it. And irrefutably, you build those neurological pathways, which goes into the idea of neuroplasticity, which just means I've talked about this in our class too in BISCOM,
Yeah.
where we can change, essentially we change who we are through routine, through practice. We change not just perspectives, but we build new ways of being. And that's neuroplasticity. And obviously, that goes a lot deeper than that little
Yeah.
second tidbit right there. Okay, so valedictorian, brother. So you're wrestling also.
Yeah.
Let's go into wrestling before we go into business. That'll connect a little more cohesively. Now you're at Menlo Wrestling, brother. So in high school, were you wrestling like major wrestler?
No, I kind of sucked for the least my so unlike a lot of people who've
Better than
wrestled
me. I promise
college.
you that. You will take me down, bro, with a suplex, and I will probably twist my ankle and break my arm.
Yeah, so I actually didn't start wrestling until my freshman year of high school, which is kind of unheard of for a lot of college wrestlers at least. So it wasn't my main sport starting out. I kind of just did it because well, actually, won't get into a lot of details here, but I was playing baseball. I played baseball, eighth grade since I was like little kid.
Yeah, yeah, right on.
Really wanted me to play baseball, but I was like, I hate this. I was just playing football. I was like, I just want to play football. And then my dad was like, you're gonna quit baseball. You need another sport. And that
Right on.
sport's gonna be wrestling. And I
Right
was
on, right on.
and then talking to him now, this was years later, he was like, I thought wrestling would be too hard for you and you'd want to go back to baseball in the spring. He was like, that was my ultimate plan, but I ended up liking it a little bit.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then another
Shout
thing
out,
is
Dad. Nice.
I've also almost wrestled in every weight class that about like now. So I started out as a 106 pounder my freshman year of high school, which is the lowest weight.
Okay,
And
right on.
yeah, I've gained like 70 pounds and grown
Yeah,
like nine.
you're way bigger than that, bro. When I saw you in 2021, you were,
I
yeah,
got bigger after that too.
I'd be
And
165 back then, 170, bro, back then.
yeah, I wrestle. Well, now my walking around weight's like 190 about,
Oh,
but
yeah. So 3 years
yeah, I
ago, I saw you.
wrestled 174 this last year. But
Yeah, brother. Yeah, see, I'm pretty good. Because I played Little League growing up. I played football. I played soccer. I
oh,
played every.
boy.
You wouldn't. I look more like the ball. I know what you're saying, God. Trust me, bro. But like, yeah. But I played. Back in the '80s. I'm born in the '70s, playing in the '80s out on the East Coast, out in Long Island, New York. And my father had me in everything. So it was a big part of what I was doing, and then I
Mhm.
got into the skateboarding thing, and
Oh
and
yeah.
that's what I did that, brother. So that is sort of what deviated me from your conventional athletics at the time, but now obviously skateboarding is in the Olympics for a while now, so that's conventional as well. But back in the day, it wasn't as conventional. It was more of like a little more of the side thing that people would do after a sport or something like that. Um, so I absolutely understand. And can I tell you one more thing about skateboarding that I really dug? And I did a thing called snakeboarding, which your class saw. Did I bring
Oh
the
yeah, I
board in?
know. Yeah, I know
I
all
brought the
about
board in,
this.
cool, man. And I skated with it, man. All right, cool. So, and people that know the snakeboard, they know I've had people on the show that aren't, that have been
I
on
think I have a
teams. And
video of that on my Snapchat memories somewhere of you on the
hey,
snake.
man, hey, dude, on our Instagram, I have one from the classroom, bro. And I don't know if
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it was your class, or it was one of the classes, bro,
I
around
think
that
it might
time.
have been my class. I think.
All right, right on, man. I put like a 180 and another
Yeah,
180 out
it
or
was
something.
cool. It was
Uh,
cool.
so one thing about that in the '90s when I got into that, Connor, really the late '80s, I was a kid when I got into it, or like mid '80s. But then by the early '90s, by '90, 89, 90, get my first board, and like you know, but by early '90s, I get the snakeboard by '92ish or something like that. That was recently created, but it was a way for me to independently push myself. So I was on team sports and it was great. And, I would do my thing, but I felt like it wasn't for me. I just felt like it wasn't for me. Had the football coach in high school reaching out to me like ninth grade, Nick, we want you in. We want you in. I'm like going to the beach with like, kids like 6 a.m. trying to surf, and on Long Island in Long Island, you have the South Shore. So I was born and raised like 40 minutes from New York City, just a quick little ride into New York City. You take a little train ride, just like how Silicon Valley is to San Francisco. Yeah, a
Yeah,
quick little
yeah.
ride in. That's where I was compared to New York City. Um, but then you also had the beaches on the south portion. So you have everywhere from Coney Island in Brooklyn to the Hamptons, and all of that is coastline of the ocean. So you have people that are surfing, you have people that are bodyboarding, and it just so happened that there were some kids that had boats or access to these rafts with motors. Believe it or not, they were called Zodiac rafts. I don't know if you know what they are. They're basically like blow up rafts with like motors on the back, and we would take that across the Great South Bay when we were like 14 years young, and we would bodyboard and surf. Um, so that's what I was doing when the football coach was calling me. I was going across the. Sorry about that, coach. Uh, but I realized when I was started skating right around that time that it was this way that I was able to push myself independently, and I would see progression with this individual progression of myself. Quick question: did you see that with wrestling? Is that something that drew to you? Think?
Yeah, it was kind of yeah, I guess you could say it was a little because it was a little more on the individual side of things, but it it doesn't make much sense, but I feel like it was kind of more rewarding than, a typical, team sport, because I don't know, after you win a match, it's a pretty good. I don't know if it's an adrenaline rush or what, but it's
Crazy. Oh gosh, man. You just oh yeah, I can imagine. You just dominate somebody. You just take somebody down, in
yeah,
this primal way of combat, man. You know what I'm saying? Going
yeah,
back to like ancient Greece, 776 BC. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the stuff right here that everybody has within them to want to do. And everybody watching this knows that at one point in your life, you wanted to say, "Hey, listen, man, I've got I've got some toughness in me, man. Like I know I could conquer, whatever's in my way." And wrestling, and not to say I go out there and fight nothing like that, but just having that heart of a lion. And apologize. And when you doing that, Connor, yeah, like you said, man, adrenaline and that'd be the craziest feeling. I've never done that in wrestling. So, and just to be on the mats with like people watching you and your whole team just going crazy, got to be
Yeah.
insane. So, how the team was insane at Menlo, bro. Obviously,
Yeah.
we've had like Olympians and people that have gone like to UFC. Big shout out to Ashley Evans Smith, who we had on the show, who's just one of the female fighters, of the UFC. Um, and gosh, every one of you. I don't want to single anybody out by just calling names out right now because I've had dozens upon dozens of wrestlers, but I know every one of you, man, in my classes. You already know that with me. Um, but how was the team, bro? Like, and I apologize because I was in the valley. I had so many things going on. How was the team for a couple of years, brother, in Menlo?
Yeah, we were pretty good.
Champions?
Yeah, well, so we took third this last year and then in the country, and then year before that we
Wow.
took fourth. So it was
Nice.
impressive, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely, my high school wasn't really that good at wrestling, so it was definitely a big change of pace for me, but it was
That's
yeah, no,
so cool, bro. That's why I am incredible professors there at Menlo. Anybody thinking about going to a school in Silicon Valley, go out to Menlo College, man. Putting that out there. Trust me. Incredible people, incredible professors, awesome area. And yeah, let's go into the business world in a moment. Because that'll sort of go into the area of Silicon Valley and the work you're doing. But so Menlo's okay. So you're wrestling, you're rocking wrestling. You guys, national third in net in nations, which is crazy. Big shout out to Menlo coaching staff, coaches, the,
oh
the
yeah.
wrestlers. Oh man, every one of you on the women's men's team, you guys rock, man. And like I said, just incredible people too. Like the wrestlers, they'll give you the shirt off their back. I've had wrestlers help me in the parking lot at Menlo College when my car was broken down and I had to drive back to Merced because I was traveling 2.5 hours to work from Merced to Menlo, Connor. And then class got out at 5 and rush hour in Silicon Valley. Try to go at 5 o'clock through San Jose by the airport. It would take me 5 hours to get home to Merced. So
Wow.
a lot of times Lisa TSP Misty would have to come with me and our little guy Jerry, God rest his soul, our little one, our little doggy, they would always come. They would drive because I couldn't drive back. I would get vertigo. I would literally get the spins. So I would be on the road looking at headlights for like hours, like every
Oh,
day because I worked at several colleges. So
that's
and listen,
thank
I did it,
you.
man, because I loved what I did. So I was like, all right, let's go. Let's rock and roll. So I had no issue with it. It was honestly, man, I love the work I do, bro. Like, and Connor, that goes into a bit really quickly of you becoming a valedictorian, just to, sort of put a little capstone on this
Yeah.
incredible success, this incredible accolade, this incredible achievement in your life.
Mhm.
You attained something that not many people in their lifetime would ever achieve. Not many people in the world would ever achieve, I should say, because it's just so massive. Uh, you did it based upon a couple of the major tenets that you just mentioned. Sticking with it, showing up, finding a mentor, uh, and a couple of the major intricacies that you just spoke of. Um, so you get the call. I guess you get a call or an email. How does that work when you
So
announce
yeah,
somebody?
they sent me an email. They
Okay,
sent me,
okay.
and
Is it the head honcho sent it out to you, or like
no.
the people in the staffing, the people that probably
Well,
run
because
it?
originally they needed like supplemental information, I guess you could say, to
Okay, cool,
debate
cool.
about it, I guess,
Oh,
I guess
sure, sure. You're
they
probably
all
being
have opinions
considered
about
with other
it.
people.
Yeah, so I got that email. I was like, okay, and I was like, well, that'll actually get that, but I was like, it's cool that they've at least mentioned my name. you know?
Just to be in the running as a candidate for valedictorian is an incredible honor,
Mhm.
fine sir. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you win it. We understand you're going to win this thing. Um, so they go through the considerations on a Cormier. This is who's going to be the valedictorian in Menlo College,
Yeah.
2024 school year, 2024 graduating class.
Yep.
Incredible. Congratulations. I'm so I gush over my students because I have such faith in you all. Um, because I know where I started as a student. Going to community college. I started at Johnson and Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, from
Oh,
Long
yeah.
Island in '96. I may have probably mentioned this to the class at one point, but then I ended up, you know, dropping out the first semester. I was 18. I was young. I was homesick the whole 9 yards, and ended up going to community college. And then the journey goes on from there. But I know where I started, and as your story was, we expedited it, but we got some nice understanding, some nice context into where you come from, who you were as a younger person. This is and as I mentioned, Menlo is an international school. There's students from all over the world. We're talking all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's like incredible students. You're looking at the top dog right here. Proud of you. Proud
I
of
know
you,
it's a great
Connor.
sight.
Proud of
Yeah.
you. My man, bro. Proud of you, brother. Um, oh man. So now so you graduate valedictorian. The speech, how was the speech? Just gotta at least touch base with the speech too.
Okay, the speech, yeah, that was I procrastinated hard on that. Thankfully, they let me know like a month in advance, but oh, like in my head, I was like I was dreading it like kind of a lot. And I eventually kind of got around to it, but I was like every time I would start to kind of like run through it and practice it, I was like, oh, I want to change this, I want to change that. So the process I was probably was a little long for me, but
Yes. Yes. What was the major? Yes. Don't go word for word or anything like that. Like, what were you trying to convey? I'm a
yeah.
business communications professor too, so I'm all about that. How you connect with
I
the
didn't want
audience.
to. I didn't want to sound. I didn't really want to sound that cliche out. And I was
Yeah.
watching former ones and ones from other areas, so I was like,
Good. Good.
okay, I don't want to just talk about COVID the entire time. And then a lot of them also talked about, like a lot of people talk about themselves, and that's not really, as you could see, it's a little bit pulling teeth with me of some of the questions a little bit. I'm not someone who like talks about themselves a lot.
You're doing a great job here with me. I'll tell you that one. Hey, right now we're just rocking and rolling. I'm just like, man, okay, think about this, bro. Just for everybody listening in, you've been listening to us for 50 minutes right now, roughly
Wow.
50 minutes. Hey, we're good. And I didn't even get into the business portion of what we're doing, bro. So you rocking, bro. I know, but listen, how old are you right now, Connor?
I'm 22.
22, fine sir. 22.
22
Okay,
without
now listen.
food.
22. Oh, you got the clue. You the man, brother. I'm 46. So what is that, 24? 24 years I got on you? When I was 24. So 2 years from now, and there's gonna be someone else born. And then 24 years from there, you're gonna be your professor. No. But that's crazy, man. I'm 46. And I'm absolutely, listen, I'm impressed, but I you're the kind of person that would do it. So I don't want to sound like I'm too surprised. I'm more excited for you too, brother, because man, yeah, yeah, you deserve it. And so you're now in Silicon Valley. You graduate. All right. So we're graduating Menlos. Okay. So we do the speech, valedictorian speech,
Yeah,
we make it
the
happen. And
theme was
the theme, I apologize. Yeah, back to that. I
oh,
apologize.
yeah, so it was kind of we have these three pillars that our coaches always would preach to us, and they're on our wall in our weight room, and it's attitude, gratitude, fortitude. And I just kind of just briefly brushed over kind of each one. And that's kind of, I guess you could say, how I try and live, go day by day, is just trying to tie back to those three things. It's, you got to be grateful. You got to be thinking about things that you're grateful about each day, even when something bad happens. You still got to kind of replay that in your mind. You got to have a good attitude, which that's something that I still struggle with. You know, a lot of times I wake up and I'm like, fuck this, fuck that. But, you know,
It's life, man. It's life. I hear you, brother. But we get through that. I
but it's
understand
better
this.
to, you know, have that positive attitude. Then fortitude's kind of, I feel like, the foundation. You know, if you want to be successful in something, you're gonna have to walk through the fire a little bit. That's you know, life. So that's kind of what my theme was. You can watch it. It's on YouTube, I think.
Oh, hey now. Okay, so hey, listen. I'm gonna find it on YouTube and I'll share it. If listen, I won't be able to take it from YouTube if it's from another. If maybe it's from Menlo. But I'll share that link on our social media on our Facebook.
Oh, you
I know
don't
that's
need.
really quickly for
I
us.
was saying for you if you want to take a look
Oh,
at
I'm
it.
definitely checking it out, brother, man. Oh yes, Connor. I definitely want to see it, man. I'm looking forward to this now. So you know, I just want everybody to realize, Menlo College, as mentioned, you know, Connor Cormier is, an individual who, stood out, to professors back when I was there in 2021. To myself, I was like, man, this young man rocks. He's great, great young fella doing it right. Great work he turned in, and he always did a great job. And just a pleasure. You were always kind and always nice. Um, and I want you all to realize that being a valedictorian, this is top of the class. This is the number one. He's the number one of Menlo College graduating class 2024. This is insane, bro. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you, brother. Yeah, bro. Come on, man. Dude, I owe you a dinner now, man. I'll get you, bro. I'll find you, bro. We'll get you out. We'll figure this out. Now, let's go in to the business world. What
Yeah.
you're doing for a moment, for a little bit here. What you're doing now after you graduate. So, what did you major in, Menlo, brother?
Yeah. So as I said, I picked a major, just kind of, you know, just cause, but I picked business management because you know it's
Right.
broad, but I did my focus in data analytics, which
Nice.
'cause that was kind of like my concentration. And just growing up in the Silicon Valley, I feel like that was the most applicable focus to pick because you know data science, it's the future, it's what drives innovation here, and I feel like it was fitting and the most versatile. So that was my reasoning behind that.
What is now for people that aren't aware? What is that data analytics, brother? Like what?
Can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh, can
my,
hear you now.
my bad.
Yep,
Apologize, everybody. Hey,
all good.
working with a new microphone here. You may see this thing. We're trying to utilize a different mic today. Thought it was
Okay,
nifty. Thought it had all these cool little colors going on. Hey, we're working it out. I tried to make this a special in that regard. Do I sound okay on your side, brother?
sound great.
Apologize. Thanks, Connor. Sorry about that, man. So, as I was saying, data analytics, for those who aren't aware, you know, I understand, what it is, but, it's a different world for somebody. When they're talking about Silicon Valley, analyzing data analytics, what is it? What is data analytics? And what kind of work do you do, brother?
Yeah, so tie into that. So kind of well, at least what Menlo's focus was for that concentration is the cross kind of between data science and business. So basically you're figuring out, you know, what's driving business, what's driving certain trends. And, you know, there's people write books and you know, obviously we can't dive into any kind of and super deep, but that's pretty much the very general definition of it. But right now, there's a lot of just discussion, just because, you know, as we've heard about 2 years ago, we got a thing called ChatGPT, and now it seems like there's talk about AI everywhere. So that's actually kind of the cycle in what I'm doing now is like pretty much right after I graduated, took a job working at a really cool startup called Warm Start AI, and it basically,
Nice.
yeah, little
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
yeah, no, it basically uses AI technology to basically kind of create sales leads for you and warm sales leads for small businesses. That's kind of our target market right now. And we're very, very early still in the beta phase, but kind of just being around that AI space, you're really realizing that analytics drives everything in business. And that's something that isn't going to change. And I'm in a very similar spot than where I was when I just graduated high school. I have no idea what the long-term career goals are going to look like. I don't know if there's going to be a return to graduate school or kind of each year of college. I kind of had a different idea for a career track, and I was still kind of, up in the air about things. But, right now, just looking to I decided that working in the AI space was probably the best way to make myself useful in the long run, and I feel like I'm kind of more at the forefront of innovation right now, especially being here in the Valley. So I feel like it would set me up for success no matter what type of path. Because actually, a year
Oh
ago
yeah.
today, I took the LSAT actually a year ago today. I was thinking
Oh
about
hey
being a
now.
yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool, brother. That's a great gig too. So, let's say you're 22.
Yeah.
Okay. That Boz Lerman song that I mentioned to you that we talked about the other day
Oh
off air,
yeah.
you and I, and the sunscreen song. Everybody listening in, Boz Lerman, the sunscreen song. He did the soundtrack for The Great Gatsby with
A
DiCaprio years back now.
couple other
Um,
movies too, I think.
yeah, yeah, he's been around this guy. There was a woman from Stanford that wrote a poem. I think it was a poem,
Yep.
which is what he's reading essentially. So that's what he's reading. And I'm not sure if she was a journalist or a journalist major or a professor of journalism, but I think she had something connected to journalism at Stanford. So right in your backyard, brother. And Bosler in the 90s, my mom sent this to me when I was at college. Old school cassette tape, you had to listen to it on the radio. When it came on, you press record on that cassette. If it didn't come on, you didn't get to record it. That's the way it was back in the day. And everybody that knows how it was back in the 90s. Um, and I was, back in 98, I was by Syracuse at college, away from Long Island, probably 5 hours away, and much different than Long Island. That was called considered upstate New York.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
from the city area. I was from like the deep suburbs and this right by the city of New York. So it was much more rural. Now I love that in my life. But when I was, 18, 19, 20, I was wanting to be where all the bright
All
lights
the
were about.
actions.
Yeah, well, the action was. I was a kid. And not to say all younger people like that, but me at the time, born and raised in that, it was just the way the stimuli was hitting me at a young age so hard from the city of New York. And it was in me, and I just was so part of that energy which that's where my energy comes from, actually, Connor. As you all know my story. Um, when I say y'all, my students know my story, and everybody watching this at this point knows my story after being on 10 years on the air. You all know my story at this point. So, um, data analytics, and just to put this out there, you're 22 years young. Data analytics leaves you open and a degree in business management for such versatility. For you're going to be so marketable with what you want to do. So just rest assured, you have your education to fall back on. You have your wisdom to fall back on. And yes, I will use that word. Earlier, you said no, don't know wisdom. You definitely were wise back then, and wise now to realize that hey, you know what? It's a big world. As Boz Lerman said, and I know make that connection full circle. In that song, he says some of the most interesting people at 22 didn't know what they wanted to do. Some of the most interesting people that he's ever met in his life at 40 years old did not know what they want to do. So it's not about knowing what you want to do. I think, Connor, that helps. That definitely helps. Not to
Yeah.
negate what I said. We want to have that vision, that plan, but knowing that it's such a dynamic world right now, you have a lot of strengths. You could follow a couple paths. That's really what this boils down to. You have one of those really good uh uh um uh difficult decisions to make. You know what I'm saying? You have you're one of those good tough predicaments, right? It could be where you're just gosh, you don't have a degree to fall back on, you don't have an education of what you want to do. Then again, this goes for labor work too. If you want to be a welder, you've never welded, you need to start welding. Yeah, whatever you want to do on the plumb, you got to know where the pipes are, know where everything runs. Um, and Connor's doing data analytics. He needs to know every facet of what's going on in this industry. And so, what's the industry like, brother? Just with data analytics, man. This is where you're at right now. What's it like there, man? Is it in? And you're with a startup right now.
Yeah.
Um, is data as you said, it's what drives business. It's basically the data that is um stored. from what I guess apps. Is it apps that are predominant ways that are that are filtering the data to you all? How do you get that data, brother? And I apologize, I'm a little ignorant to it.
Well, yeah, well, just in general. Well, us specifically, we're a very like we don't collect data in any kind of deceitful ways that like a lot of like, big tech companies can. But yeah, no, well, basically just in a general sense, like, your data is everywhere. Every time, you pay something with your credit card, every time you make an Amazon order, every time, it just pretty much every time you do anything, it's getting saved to somewhere. Every kind of click or even opening an email or any of that stuff, it's all getting saved somewhere. And there's actually it's kind of been kind of a growing problem, but it's just data storage. So there's like these giant data centers and these giant, that's where the term data mining comes from. There's these giant warehouses that need gallons and gallons of water to basically upkeep and yeah,
Cool
so our
down
data
to
is
cool
stored
down
everywhere.
the to cool it down. I guess the word
Yeah,
is going to be
yeah, cool it
cooling.
down. There's big data centers, and then with AWS, there's a lot of cloud technology where your data's stored. So, uh, and there's basically an endless number of companies that use AWS software to conduct their business and all that. All your data is getting stored in the cloud, so it's really everywhere. And the big problem is just data management and how to narrow that down to be successful because any company can really just have data, but like kind of what at least what we've been taught at Menlo is it's really how to use that and how to narrow that down.
Great, man. So, and obviously everybody knows the aspect of data mining, if I could use that borrow the term, not to be redundant. For people that aren't aware of data mining, that's essentially taking data from wherever they could
Forever. Yeah.
find, wherever it could be found, utilizing it, in any capacity. It's sort of like finding a phone number, like finding like 1,000 phone numbers and just cold calling everybody, trying to sell
Yeah,
knives or something like that.
or targeted ads, people say it's scary all the time. People be like, "Oh, I was just talking about this one thing," and like an ad came up for it. And it's because, a lot of these advertising agencies and especially Google, because Google's, the biggest kind of for marketing, they have developed kind of personas for us and grouped us in the certain use cases. And, they know us better sometimes than we know ourselves, and they're able not to predict, like they're not like listening to us or anything like that, but they're kind of able to make really, really good, really precise predictions.
So fascinating, Connor. The 22, as mentioned, at 24 years on you. I'm 46, brother. That- This is like I mentioned Star Trek before. This is so sci-fi to me, man. Like everything that's gone on these last 10 years well, since the advent of the internet and mass use of it, 'cause I think it was like in the 80s is when it's really
Yeah,
brought forth, but I want to say like 84-ish, or maybe it could be wrong with that. It probably predates that, probably the 70s, maybe even the 60s. But don't hold me to when the internet starts, somewhere around that in that time frame. But in the 1980s and 90s, that wasn't happening. By the late 90s, you're starting to feel it more on the
internet.
public level. Yeah,
Yeah,
you hear what an email is, but you don't know what it is really. By the early 2000s, people starting to now incorporate that into the workplace, and
everyone's
now it's so much part of what I do. I check it every day, my emails, to make sure I don't miss major messaging. Um, but the reason I sort of show that, um, I gotta fact check myself, man. Let me see when the internet starts. Hold on. If you can beat me to it, if you're by a computer, when does the internet start,
I'm
bro?
on a computer right now.
Yeah, yeah. When does the internet start? I want to say in the 80s, but probably the 70s.
And 1983 is the official internet's birthday, but I had started for the public in 1993 because
I
it originally started they just wanted it for military
Yeah,
communication.
yeah.
And then
And I said 84. For everybody listening out there, I said 84 was my first number. 83 it was. I was right around that time, but
yep,
I should have guessed myself, because I was starting to think about Steve Jobs when he brings forth Apple. But then I also think about, like you just mentioned, how the internet was probably used in the military for years prior to us seeing it publicly. But okay, cool. So around the 80s. So again, that was all to say I've never had to worry about data being utilized. You've been immersed in this world from 18. at the intellectual academic level, you're talking about this in classes with people from around the world. And I know your class, I knew people in your class. You guys were brilliant. You guys made me a better academic. You made me a better person. You made me just so, I love, bro, what I did there, man. I love what I do wherever I do my thing. But just to put it out there, that's to why, you're immersed in it. I, for me, it's new. So we're called the Subjective Perspective Show for a reason, everybody. I like to get into some good, thought process, some fun stuff. As mentioned, we go a little abstract, and we've been getting some really, really good ideas here. There's a lesson in data analytics and a whole lot more how to be successful. Um, but my perspective is interesting on this matter, where it, I I am so reminiscent of the world prior to the internet when I think about when I'm reminded of what it was like. So I could yeah, that sentence didn't make sense. I was reminiscent of the world. When I think about the world prior to the internet, I remember what it was like, and I remember not having the old electronic leash, as they say, and so now that's my perspective, and so I'll leave it there. You were immersed in it.
Yeah.
Does what's it like for you in that regard? I'm curious about this. Like,
Well, yeah, well, as I'm sure, kind of I'm not sure if you're aware, I forget the author, but a book that just came out called like The Anxious Generation, or I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but
I didn't hear that, but I'll check that on out. I think vaguely, I think I've heard people talking about a book recently too. Some colleagues I've worked with.
yeah,
So perhaps that was the book that they
but
were
it's just
talking about.
basically like it talks about how like, well, to go beyond just the internet, but things, just like social media and stuff like that, and always having one of these things. So I've had a iPhone since like middle school now, so since like sixth grade or something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah,
The access that everybody has to information, and which could be
uh,
misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, all different types of information nowadays, different information sources, which
yeah.
sway everybody's thought process and opinions and consciousness. Very interesting.
Well,
Um,
also apparently with our generation, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of like, there's kind of a rise of things like anxiety and, depression and other forms of mental illness. And it's basically they're saying like using these things and being on social media since like you were a kid has and being like an iPad kid has basically messed up some of the dopamine in your brain. And
yeah,
I'm not a psychology guy like whatsoever, but I could definitely understand that. But for me at least, I've always been like, because I grew up, I'm an only child. I grew up with a big kind of older, you know, a lot of older family members. So I guess
yeah, yeah,
I'm a little bit of like, an older soul. I've got, I grew up with a lot of appreciation for that. I was never like
yeah.
I would never get a lot of like trends, I guess you could say. Well, like I would get it, but I feel like I was in that I was like
You weren't
Kyle and
so into it. You weren't so into the fashion thing.
no, but
You
I
didn't have
was
to
always
keep
like
up with it.
yeah, I was always like Kyle in South Park where he would like come and be like in that episode where he's always I don't know if you're a South
Love
Park guy,
South
but
Park.
he's always
Love that.
behind on like the trends and stuff. Like he doesn't like he's always just like one step behind. I feel like that was kind of in a sense. So I feel like I never really like got into all that stuff. I like even now, like I try to really like limit like my screen time, but there are definitely a lot of people I think younger than me where I think it's been a very, very kind of negative thing. So
No doubt. And older too. I mean, I see adults. I see adults who have been taken by it all, and they'll be
yeah,
on, all day scrolling and yada yada, and it affects human consciousness, no doubt about it. So everybody, what I say is this: I recommend this: unplug from the digital world as much
yeah,
as you can. Utilize it for the workplace. Utilize it for some creativity. Utilize it for some information. Utilize it whenever you want to use it. But remember, unplug and plug into nature. Look up at that sky because that's some pretty incredible stuff up there. Go out, touch
yeah.
some grass, hug a tree. Do it,
Yeah.
man. Do it.
No,
Just and breathe that air, and get outside and and remember, and remember, this is going to sound not too magical fantasy land, but in essence, you're plugging in to the universe. When we're away from these things, we are immersed in what I call our fishbowl of water. No matter
Yeah.
what, we're immersed in it. But I had a philosophy professor once posed this question, Connor. He asked, would a fish ever know it was a fish unless it was out of the water? And it made you think, and I'm back probably 19 years young, Suffolk County Community College in central portion of Long Island, New York. And I thought about it. I was like, gosh, I forget the professor's name. Maybe Professor Finkel might have been his name. But he's really, really good. And I thought about it, I was like, man, it just made me think over my life, how we are, and water is H2O. That fish is swimming through water,
Yep.
mobile. We're in our, whatever our molecules, the myriad of molecules that make up what we walk through. In essence, it's the same exact thing as a fish swimming through water, and that's why it's interesting, when we focus our consciousness not on these things, and we focus on what's in front of us. We take the next step in our life. We in our thoughts. If we're not able to move, if we're not mobile, we're thinking about the next step.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, definitely.
and it's
No,
huge, huge to unplug. And again, uh, I utilize the I utilize my gadget here for all the positives, for the workplace, for the creativity, uh, gosh, for the communication, FaceTime with family all the time, all that good stuff. I mean, it's amazing to do that. Back in the day, it was so scary to travel away from home. Back in the 80s and 90s, in the 90s when I was traveling, gosh, when I was starting college in 96, you got a letter from a family member, you get a phone call. So that was cool. You could do the phone call thing. But you couldn't see anybody, so you felt really,
yeah,
really far. When you're on the FaceTime, you're on a Skype or whatever now, you got so many different video conferencing apps, you feel like you're right there and you can turn them off whenever you want. Okay, all right. So yeah, hey, I'm off now. And it's just amazing, Connor. So you 22, brother, you are at the forefront of the future. So I want to ask you, my man, from your perspective, brother, how do you see technology playing into the future? Um, Beyond the data aspect, but
yeah,
just the essence of what you know with AI, because you know a lot more than I do. I know the basics. I just know the couple things I see. I know you study this. You're immersed in this in the workplace. You talk to people, conversations that I don't have. Um, what do you feel like
yeah,
the next 10 to 20 years? What do you see the country, the world looking like in essence with technology and AI and all that, and
yeah. So,
VR and gosh,
well, I'm in no way an expert on this. So don't quote anything I say to d- yeah, don't make any predictions
most
on
of
what
what
I'm.
I say too. Don't quote any of this.
Yeah. But
It's a good combo though. I like
yeah,
this.
there's a lot of worry about just job security and stuff coming with a lot of this AI stuff. Like, see, like people are going on writing strikes and all this crazy stuff is going on. And a lot of the industry like experts are saying that in 20 years from now or something, there's going to be about 60%. There's going to be, I think they're saying 60% of the jobs are going to be brand new. So I'm a glass half full type of guy. So I think that all this kind of AI and technology stuff is gonna, do nothing but help drive innovation and honestly help make our lives easier. Not even just not easier, but make it just easier to kind of do like the little tasks and kind of make our work a little more advanced.
Sure,
I
sure.
this is, and my dad's a professor too, and he's been saying this about it.
Hey, Professor Cormier,
Yeah. He's
pleasure. Thank you for the work you've done, sir.
He's been
Find your
saying
brain
right
here.
now it's kind of when Windows or like Microsoft first launched like Microsoft Word. He was saying like because that's when he was entering the workforce and I'm entering the workforce and all this AI stuff is coming out. And he was like all the old timers were all freaking out about just like Windows and PowerPoint and stuff like that, saying it's going to take away everybody's job, but it really just kind of made things a little bit, easier for everybody. Because before, if you wanted to give a presentation, think about it, you had to have an overhead projector, you had to make your own like slides and stuff like that. So it really just kind of add an extra step for people to ultimately, I think it opened the door for people to be able to do new things and do more things in the workforce. So I think it's just going to kind of change how the work, how like our jobs are. Like, I think it's just going to kind of change that aspect, but I don't think it's going to lead to any bread lines or anything like that in the future. But I'm optimistic, but
Yeah, I like that. I like the positive perspective on that. That's wonderful, Connor. And I concur with the irrefutably that AI, when utilized correctly, like anything else, if you have any aspect of technology utilized in a negative fashion with negative intent, it'll act as such. It'll behave as such. Though having it in morally sound people's hands, such as Connor, is valedictorian. Individuals who are understanding that, and again, as you mentioned, your space is data analytics. I know it's not 100%, just in the world of AI, but you utilize this and you understand this, and and you see that there is a lot of good and a lot of benefit. So I just want everybody to walk away with that as well. Obviously there's a lot to the conversation, and no doubt about it. You've heard a lot of the controversy, a lot of the negative. There's no doubt. There's a lot of that's out there. But take it from a valedictorian. Why not? This is a 22-year-old who's going to be who's already done massive things, but going to continue at 22. Connor, you have to be so incredibly proud of yourself. And I want you to realize that as your professor, as somebody who had the time to work with you, again, I'm impressed, not surprised. It's something that I saw in you, and with what you made the point of in terms of structure, brother, you were wise enough to realize that there's something more than just the realm of thought process. There was something that kept you grounded in the physical world, in terms of not just the world of thought. And I want everybody to realize that there is that connection between the mind, the body. Okay. And won't go into the soul and all of that. It's a whole other conversation. That'll be for round two, Connor. Okay. But there's a
awesome.
huge connection with the mind and body, because the mind, and tell me if this has been accurate, or if this is accurate, or if it's something you've seen in your life. The healthy mind is able to assist the physical, right? An unhealthy physical has a difficult time assisting the mind. The unhealthy mind as well has a hard time assisting the physical. I found it important to keep my mind in a place that's healthy, and that meant being good to myself. I want everybody to realize, stay away from, the drugs, the alcohol, stay away from it, because it will take you off your game. Irrefutably, I've seen that happen to a lot of 46. I'm from Long Island, New York. People that know me know me. I've seen it, out there, and you see people get taken down by it all. And you see people who had great potential, just sort of have it washed away. So that's one major thing, keeping that healthy mind. But the physical, brother, that always magnified my mind. Like when I would work out, or any physical activity, my
Yeah.
mind felt like it was like just like 1,000 times more stronger, and I was ready to rock. Did you feel that?
Yeah, that's why I think it's kind of been as ingrained in me by routine is that, I it's come to a point where I really don't feel that great unless I am waking up a little earlier than I have to and doing some form of a workout, even if it's just like, you know, little like push up, pull up circuit, something like that. Like it definitely, I don't know, it's a good, I feel like, I don't know, working out first thing in the morning, I feel like is just great for your mood throughout the entire day. So I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely, and every time that I kind of get stressed out about stuff, or wrestling was a good outlet. Tying back to all this stuff with technology, our brains always connected to something. Like wrestling and allowed me to really just take like 2 hours each morning to kind of just go live in the moment. And it's something that I think I maybe took for granted at times. It's me kind of like stopping that where I'm kind of realizing like, there's a
Yeah.
time where, you'd have like 40 guys just, kind of unplug and we're just in the moment, and I feel like it was really, it really helped set me up for success for, each day helped set me up for success.
It's so uplifting to hear you, Connor. I got to tell you, because there's so much negativity in the world, so many, so much happening, right? And
Yeah.
your perspective is it's refreshing, and it really is uh, the way an individual, any individual, can find great success in their life. Really having that routine, showing up, and I mean, going for it. Believing in yourself as well, everybody. Believing yourself. That's something that is difficult as well. As we mentioned earlier, Connor has a wonderful family who supported him through the college process. I was very lucky to have a wonderful family who supported me through the college process. Doesn't mean you have to have a lot of money, but to have somebody to talk to here or there, it's huge. Having a mentor, I want you to realize that, whatever it is you're going to be doing, whether it's you're going to be a mechanic, whether it's you're going to be working at a local, restaurant or food service area, whether it's going to be getting a degree somewhere, military, law enforcement, show up, believe in yourself, and realize that there's something in you that nobody else may see but you. And just because others don't see it doesn't mean it's not real. Doesn't mean it's not what the reality will be in your future. And I got two questions for you, Connor, but I'll wrap this thought process up with this. I used to talk about in class the an analogy, and I used to talk about Michelangelo, and I used to put a chair on a table. This is many years ago. I had you now, so I don't know if you remember this. But at one point, I probably did this in your class. If I didn't, sometimes I forget throughout the semester, but it's just a cool piece. And I put a chair on the table and I say, okay, that's a piece of stone, granite. And I'm going to be Michelangelo. I'm going to also be Tony from Brooklyn, right? My middle name's Anthony, so it wasn't too far fetched. My family started in Brooklyn when they came from Italy. So, and I said, okay, Michelangelo, one of the great sculptors, great uh, David, also Sistine Chapel painter. Um, and if I'm wrong with that, hold me accountable, everybody, but I believe that is true. Um, you know, he was once asked, how do you do it? How do you make those incredible pieces that you're sculpting? And he said, I see it in the rock already. I already see it in the stone and granite, whatever he was going to be pitching. And then I would start to chisel at the chair, pretend it's like a rock. And then I would have that dialogue back and forth. How do you do it, Mikey? How'd you figure it out? And Michelangelo would say, you don't see it? It's in the rock. And he would chisel it. Now comes the masterpiece. And I would always say, just because, you know, somebody else didn't see it, didn't mean that the individual didn't see it that was creating it as you're creating your life, Connor. As all of you are creating your life, I want you to realize that there's something up there that nobody else may see, something you see in yourself. You may have nobody around you that believes in you. I do. I bet you this young man does. Because we know what it is, maybe to be in a world where not so many people believe in you. And you don't always have to go through some of the most difficult times to live vicariously through people who have. Many people have gone through difficult experiences, and we can empathize and understand how difficult and not understand 100%, but and understand the ramifications of a difficult time. And that's why I want you all to know you got what it takes in you. Turn that masterpiece like Michelangelo did, just based upon what you see into the reality that you live. Now, Connor, my friend, I've had you on for about an hour and a half now. So just might go a little longer, brother. I got two questions left. Two left. Okay, my boy. Two left, and I'll get you on off, brother.
Little
Um,
chill on that little speech there.
hey, thank you, brother. You know how we do it, Connor. This is me.
Yeah.
This is me, man. Ah, thank you, brother, for that. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. And this comes from the heart. What I'm saying, and this is what I would do. This is what I do in the classroom, and this is my catharsis, my release, and that's what wrestling was. And now I want everyone to know I've lost 50 pounds since 2019. And it's all because I switched to sparkling waters, cut out a lot of sugars. I still mess around with some ice creams here and there. Now I should be doing that, but messing around. But I I created a regimen for myself about 3 days a week. I'll do like just a little calisthenics, some sit-ups, leg raises, some jumping jacks. I'll walk. Whether it's in my house or around the neighborhood. And I stay active. And I want you all to know, I was like 235. Now I'm like 180. And I was like, I think I hit 178. So it's like, okay, we did that. And I wasn't trying to like be like someone who was like in great shape. I just wanted to feel healthy because I went through a lot of different bouts of different illnesses, most of it due to what I was taking in, the sugars. Oh gosh, sugars were really bad, really, really bad. I had a very bad issue with eyesight. And your class was the first class I came back actually kind of where I don't think I was wearing glasses. I was wearing glasses. Did I have glasses on when I first saw you guys? Actually, that was so many years ago.
No,
Gosh,
no,
no, no. Just before
drinking the
that,
bubbles then.
bringing the bubblies, though, I switched to the
Told us
bubblies.
about that, I think. You told us about
Yeah, I told you guys, I start to lose my eyesight, everybody. And I've talked about it on past episodes, but because of all the sugar intake, something was
yeah.
happening with my eye, something behind the eyeball was hemorrhaging. Oh, crazy scenario. Felt like somebody was pulling a bag over my head. Literally, everything was just dimming out throughout like a couple days. I couldn't see like right in front of me. I would get like the thickest glasses from Dollar Tree just to see a little bit. It was pretty crazy, and it was very scary. And it lasted for about 4 months, 5 months, about 4 months, I would say. But I cut out all sugars, just began working out. And maybe like a 45-minute workout, like maybe 3 days a week, I'll do maybe an hour. Nowadays, I go a little longer. I really enjoy it now. Um, but that ties into my mental health, my
Yeah.
mental strength, my mental acuity. Gosh,
Yep.
goodness gracious. I mean, there's not enough that could be said about being good to ourselves, Connor. Brother? And that's why, as an athlete, you are. And you just validated what I've been thinking about, having a healthy lifestyle. And I hope everybody listening in, realizes that wherever you're at right now, if you're like me, 55 pounds, I want to lose 50 pounds, 55 pounds. I was 235, only 5'5", 5'6", so it wasn't a good look. And I just did it. I just consistently. No, I didn't have to. I didn't even change really what I was eating. I ate the same foods. It's just that I stopped taking in the fruit drinks and sodas, and I
Yeah.
just switched to sparkling waters and did about a 3 day a week workout. Stayed consistent. That's it.
It's
That was it.
distance. It's not actually what you're doing. It's the consistency that matters.
Yes, yes. And I'm starting to learn now, Connor, which I'm sure you've been onto for a long time, all different aspects of how you work out and train and like how it can affect you. And now I'm into like the understanding the
Biomechanics.
yeah, like biomechanics and like the what's that called when uh the gut has it, the gut biome, like it's like the what like the I guess having like a healthy there's a mouth biome, a gut biome. Everybody, I am very ignorant to all this. I'm learning about this right
I
now,
do.
but it's about from what I understand, uh, obviously there's a lot of different organisms within us and on us, and keeping our body healthy, our internal body healthy. So if you Google gut biome, mouth biome, one thing that many specialists are saying is that mouthwash actually leads to anxiety. Did not know that. Yes, research that, brother. Take a peek. I saw specialists now saying this, and that because it what it does, I guess it eradicates the healthy the mouth biome, and the biome I believe is like all of the organisms that are within us in our mouth. um I'm just being put onto this over the last like couple months. So interesting stuff, everybody, all about health. Very cool. And I'm with a wrestler here, valedictorian Connor Cormier. Okay, so I had to get into it a little bit, brother. I told you I was going to go here soon enough. We're going to go a couple directions. Now listen, Connor, I know I've had you on for a while, sir. Let me go into the final two questions, and
Awesome.
then
Awesome.
we'll have a quick little full word association game that I do have done with the last probably 10, 12 guests. And I ask basically, I'll ask a word and you'll just give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
It's cool. It's cool. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. I need to
Go.
grab my power cord real fast.
Oh, take your time. See,
Yeah.
I do this to everybody.
Yeah.
We're running out of power over here, everybody.
Okay. Oh, go for it. I'll be back
Take your
in a
time,
second.
brother. Take your time. And everybody, so I hope you're enjoying episode 162 of the Subjective Perspective Show here at beawoke.com on the Be Awoke Entertainment Network. We've been on air since 2010. God, no, 2013. Apologize. 2000 and gosh, 2017 we created beawoke.com. So we were on the old Bud and Roach Entertainment Network. Two of our great friends, Alex Montanez and Alonzo Taylor, out there in Brooklyn, New York. I believe out there we'll start out in Brooklyn. Boys might be around about there now in the New York City area. But we started out there years back in 2017. Lisa TSP, my incredible wife, and myself created beawoke.com. And so we've been rocking since 2017 with this company that we've been on. But we started the first couple of years on the old Bud and Roach Entertainment Network out of Brooklyn. And had incredible guests the whole way through, as we have episode 162, the brilliant valedictorian of Menlo College 2024, Connor Cormier. Got that power chord, bro. Sorry about that. All right, listen, let's get going, man. Sorry. Everybody, you
All right.
students watching this, you already know. We go. All right, we don't stop. All right, listen, Connor, my friend. So now remember, this is like a thought sandwich.
Thought
Consciousness
sandwich. I like
sandwich.
that.
Sort of like simple on each side, get a little more fun, funky in the middle, get some like lettuce, tomatoes on there, there's some like mayo, mustard up in that thing, get a little abstract. Now we're bringing it down to simple. Okay, brother. So these are two of the most simple questions that I've been asking people for about 10 years. We've been on air for over 10 years now. Started when we were living in Menlo Park, right around from Menlo College. And Lisa and myself, and it all just happened, brother. It all just happened. Started our own show, but started in Prunedale as a monologue on our old friend show, the Bud and Roach Entertainment Network. So it was cool. We'll get into that. A whole other episode, everybody. That's some good stuff. Okay, brother. So first question of the last two. And this question you can take, I'm going to give you sort of two questions in one, and you can either answer both of them or just take one of them. You'll see why I'm doing that. Okay, first question, brother. First of the last two. What is your favorite book and author, or favorite movie and director, or both? Or if you just want to go with a movie or a book, or
It's tough. That's a tough one. That's a tough
it's the
one.
simple ones that are tough. We could talk about data analytics all day, but when we're talking about the favorite movie, that's a tough one, man. Yeah,
So
I
I'd have
know.
to say, so my movie and director are different, I
That's
think.
cool. That's cool. That's good.
So
That's good.
favorite movie is The Big Lebowski. And
The dude. I
yeah,
like it. Jeff
and
Bridges.
then my favorite director, I mean, it's probably a generic one, but Martin Scorsese is probably my favorite director. So
One of the all-time classics.
yeah.
Scorsese, one of the all-time classics coming out of my neck of the woods out there. And he's from Brooklyn. Yeah, he's from Brooklyn. He's a Brooklyn boy.
And then book, I in high school I really liked the book Brave New World.
Honestly, impressive.
Yeah, but not my
Impressive.
favorite author. Favorite author? I'm definitely gonna get judged for this one, but probably I like Kafka.
Oh yeah, Francis Kafka, bro. Francis Kafka.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Oh, so that's some philosophical stuff. And big shout out to
Oh no. Can't hear you.
check. I'm
Yep.
back.
Can't hear you.
Everybody had to change the color, I guess, on the mic. Now on green or light blue, whatever this is.
Okay.
A big shout out to TKO to 4.0. Also, Matthew Mumjay,
Yeah.
great. Well,
Oh, that's my favorite book author. Forgot.
that's amazing, man. Hey, you mentioned two greats. You talk about some great books. Brave New World. It's a big one. What's your take on that in the world we're living in now? Seem any parallels? Any interesting
I
connections?
mean,
I mean, there's a lot there.
yeah, I mean, well, for me it was, the reason why I think I like that book, I think it's the only book I've ever read cover to cover twice. And I was just
Yeah.
because it was well, actually kind of three times now, but Because it's a hard book to understand, and I was taking AP literature my senior year, and
Oh
that was
wow.
like kind of a book, and like we were going to do final paper that was based on that book, and our final like writing thing was also going to be based on that book. So, teacher was like, you should probably read it twice because a lot of stuff is going on, and
Wow.
so it's probably the book I've dived like the most into ever.
It's a great book to dive into, man.
I'm not a big reader at all, but I
Yeah,
found
yeah. That's quite the book to rock and roll with, bro. That's a great
yeah.
book, bro.
Yeah, no, I just, I found it just,
The technology aspect.
yeah, and I feel like, everyone, this is kind of when my inner kind of nerd comes out a little bit, but everyone always talks about like, oh, dystopia, like 1984, but in Brave New World, it's a dystopia, but everyone chooses it and everyone accepts it. Like everyone likes it, and
Yes.
I feel like if our world were to ever, something bad, like something like the dystopia setting was ever going to happen, I think it would be, I think we would choose it. I like unconsciously after generation, we just say just
Woo! Okay, now you just went deep. That's good. I won't go too much deeper, bro, because we've been on an hour and a half. Was it? But what a brilliant point, bro. Okay, I concur with that. I concur with that. That people and in 1984, obviously dealing with the notion of people being forced and the notion and the idea of rewriting history. That was the job of the fella in it. Um, yeah, there was the total control, and like you said, people, and in 1984 they were in essence accepting it, um, but like you said, sort of like a frog in a pot, boiling a pot of boiling water. If you go slowly, the frog might not know that it's getting hotter and hotter, right? So as
exactly. Yeah.
generations go on, they're not going to
Yeah.
realize what they're immersed within. They're not going to
Well, it's like
realize the question. Sorry, sorry.
yeah, I think something that they say actually in the book, well, the bad guy, I guess you could say of it, the antagonist, he's kind of like, like we didn't rewrite history and ban books and stuff like that. Just people just stopped caring about it. No one really cared to know what was right, Like they have like the best drugs to escape from, everyone can buy, pretty much like whatever they want. And there's no more disease and stuff like that. Like there's some good things, like there's no more disease and so everyone has a job and stuff like that. But then, you know, from our perspective, like that's terrible. But everyone in there is like, nope, that's just like, yeah, no one has an issue. So
Brilliant point. Now, that's I'll say this to that. Yes. And that's why it's so important to question.
yeah,
It's so important not to let somebody write a blank check and tell you this is what it is. This is what you will be thinking today. It's important to find a multitude of sources, especially as we were just mentioning in a world of so much information. You don't want to take one source to be the end all be all. You want to, cross
yeah,
reference many different
exactly.
paradigms, cross reference people that have opposite thought process of you, and you're going to find there's some continuity there, and you're going to find that's how we start to bridge differences. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's refreshing, Connor, because your spirit, your tone, your positive perspective, it's wonderful. It's great, man. And your generation, so your Generation Z,
Yeah.
is that
Gen Z.
Generation Z, man? Hey, you got Gen Z up on the thing, man. Cool, bro. You might want to be one of my first Gen Zers. You might be one of my first Gen Zers.
Oh,
Well, I like it, man. I like what I'm hearing, brother. And I got to tell you, there's no doubt about it. What you said about mentors, it's so important, everybody, because learning from people who have come before us and realizing not everybody that's older has the knowledge, has
exactly.
the positive perspective, but being able to critically think and say, okay, I I I have this instinct about this individual, this how would I say it? This connection that is not this connection that I can't say, I can't put my finger on it, but it's my gut instinct is what I'm looking for. That's what I was looking for. I trust my gut instinct, and there's something with that gut instinct that sort of leads us in many ways on the right path. Don't hold me, not always, but uh, follow that when you're looking for mentors. Um, okay, brother. Okay, great stuff. What you just said, very intriguing. I can go forever on that, but now I got to go into my final question, sir. So this is the question, Connor, that I mentioned that Graham Hancock, he had an incredible series on Netflix, believe it's still up, called Ancient Apocalypse. All about, he's an Egyptologist, so going into all the ancient, civilizations, and the gentleman is incredible. He really has done his thing. We had him back in 2013, I believe it was, on the show, and he was in northern England, and we're in Menlo, actually, not far from the college where Lisa and I were, at least TSP and I were living, just in an apartment at the time, in somebody's house, and it started breaking up. He couldn't hear me. He's like, "I can't hear you. I can't hear you." I'm like, "It's all right, Graham. We'll get back to it, man." And I just I've connected with him on social media. I've never asked him though formally, so I gotta ask Graham one of these days. I think I've said that on past episodes. This question, Connor, is the most simple question, other than where you born and raised, where you from, which I asked you the first one. The first question of our interview convo, episode 162, ladies and gentlemen, the Subjective Perspective Show on the Be Awoke Entertainment Network here. Connor Cormier, valedictorian, Menlo College 2024. So this is the most simple question, Connor, that I could devise back in the day. So I've been doing this for over 10 years. This question. Ready?
Yep.
Last one, my brother. What is your favorite color or colors and why?
Kind of is a hard one. I haven't thought of my favorite color in a long time. I'm gonna have to say green, and I don't really know why.
Hey, that works. It
It's
just
always
works.
been green, I think. I think just because like I don't know. I like the way green looks.
That's all you got to. That's all that matters, man. We went deep into the philosophy of Brave New World. We don't got to go deep on the color one, man. I love it, bro. Hey,
Green.
listen, Connor. Now, listen, I got one last piece. It's a word association game. It'll take a minute here, okay? And then I'm going to
Do
get
it.
you off back to your family. Thank your family for allowing us to borrow you for the last hour and gosh, it's 2 hours now. Like I said, I owe you dinner now and lunch, brother. I'll get you. I'll get you. I'll get you. Trust me, I'll get you now. Okay, so the word association. So color one. Chuck yourself up to 161 episodes of other people who have answered that. All the people that I've had on have answered that question. You can go back to everybody I've had on, Connor. We've had some really
Awesome.
interesting people, and you can listen to what they said too. Some people have said, "Hey, I don't know, I just liked it, just like you." Okay, brother. So now I'm going to ask you 4 words. I'm going to say 4 words.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind, just pop it on out. Okay,
Okay.
my boy. Okay, let me just sip my drink. First word, wrestling.
Menlo.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Second word, education.
Vast. I don't know. I kind of drew a blank with that one.
Oh, that's good. It is vast. That's good. That's good. I like that. These are fun. These are fun. I like doing this. Third question. Third word. There's only 4. California.
Beach.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm down with that.
That was an easy one.
Yeah, Santa Cruz. Let's go. I'm with that, man. Santa Cruz all day. Okay, brother. Final one. Final question. Or final word, I should say. Valedictorian.
Prestigious.
Indeed. Irrefutably. And I have the valedictorian, ladies and gentlemen, of Menlo College, class of 2024, Connor Cormier, episode 162 with us here for the last nearly 2 hours. Connor, my friend, that was an awesome interview convo. Brilliant, brother. I want to give you the final moment. As long as you like, or as short as you like. Last words for the audience. Anything at all that you want to leave them with in terms of anything at all that's on your thought process.
I think we just covered everything. The word game's kind of hard. Like education, it was just I was kind of drew a blank for that one. I like thought of nothing.
Hey, listen, you did a pretty darn good job because education is vast and it
Yeah.
encompasses everything. Education's not just books. Education's not just the hammer. Education's not just, going to one sector. Education's about knowing it all. And we all have to realize that there's going to be neighbors, there's going to be people in our community that are going to have knowledge in certain, sectors that we don't have. We want to respect one another. We want to share with one another. And in essence, that's how community becomes stronger. And having a valedictorian, Generation Z, 22 years young, I got to tell you this, it's refreshing and it reinstills my faith in this generation, brother. It really is. What a pleasure it's been to have you on. All right, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do is this. Let me get my friend Connor, which at one point was my student. Now you're my friend, man. Let me get you going back to your neck of the woods out there in San Jose, California. San Ho all day. And ladies and gentlemen, what we will do, we're going to go into a commercial break here, and we'll come out with our outro for episode 162 of the Subjective Perspective Show here at beawoke.com with the one and only Connor Cormier. Connor, you were incredible today, bro. And I just want to say, you're going to be doing huge things, bro. So regardless, know this, my brother. I've been where you're at. I've been there many years. I think still probably there here and there, trying to figure it out. But you just follow your heart, and that's why I got that little tattoo on my arm. It says Segue tuo cuore. In Italian means follow your heart. That's what I did in my life. And that's what brought me to California from New York. I had nobody, had nothing, had no money. My family were labor workers out Long Island. They thought I was crazy. But Lisa and I drove across America, ended up in a little town called Moss Landing, just down there below Santa Cruz in Watsonville. Yeah, and right by the old Bolero there, we ended up renting a bedroom in one of the modular trailers over there, the trailer park. And the rest is history, ladies and gentlemen. Follow your heart. This young man's done it. Look where it's brought him. What's going to continue to bring you, Connor. Been an honor, brother. My man, any last words before I sign on off?
Nope, just thanks for having me on. It's been cool.
Hey, man, I'll tell you this. Down the road, let's get you back on. Let's get you and Matthew on at the same time.
Oh, I would love that, actually.
That would be rad, brother.
All right, listen. Do it.
So we're working it out right now, ladies and gents. We'll figure this out. We'll work this out. That'd be killer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go into a commercial break. Subjective Perspective Show, episode 162, featuring Connor Cormier.
We did what we said we would do, but there's so much left for you now that you're near, now that you're here. Don't forget what you said to me. We know what it was meant to be. And since you returned, it's been the world in the palm of your hands. But that was the plan. Now that you're near, now that you're here, mine. Then I said, I can't forget what I said to you. I think about it all the time, and it conquers my mind. But I'm asleep every night, so I'm making the most of my life. How could you blame me for the shame that I've endured to get where I am? I'm not unsure. I wanna see the light. I want to 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 because I need to see at night.
All right, everybody. Episode 162 of the Subjective Perspective Show in the history books. That was Connor Cormier. Brilliant conversation, incredible young man. Going to be doing huge things. Valedictorian of Menlo College 2024, working as a data analyst, and just somebody who has just incredible insight on how to be successful. So, just want to remind y'all, we got some cool gear here from our Be Awoke store. Got your subjective perspective, made in the USA hat, cool little fisherman hat. Got a cool old school pullback. Let's see how it looks on me. Take a peek. All right, let's check it on out. That works. Pretty cool. That works. That's nifty. That works. Let's see how this one goes. That one's super rad too. All right. Get your hats, man. Look fresh. Be the ones people are talking about in the neighborhood saying, yo, where'd you get that hat from? Where'd you get that funky hat? I think super cool. That's a funky looking hat, man. Hard to wear with the headphones, but hey, it works. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this. The Subjective Perspective Show reminds you all that you have the power not to make changes not only in your life, but you have the power to make changes in the lives of others. It all starts with you. Make sure you all can hear me decently with this. My headphones are a little off here. And just want to reiterate what I've been saying for 10 years on air, that you're worth it, that you're greatness. So no matter where you are in life right now, get out there and realize you can make it happen. Starts with the belief in yourself, and then work relentlessly. Stay honest. And I think it's what Connor was saying today. Reach out to good people around you and realize there's good people out there who've been where you may have been, or at least understand. And they may be able to give you a little positive support. Regardless of any of that, though, you already are the masterpiece within. You just got to keep on chipping away at it. Every day you're alive in this beautiful world. Without any further ado, from the farm, episode 162, The Subjective Perspective Show, signing off. See y'all soon. Ciao.
On the Subjective Perspective Show, you're free to be on the Subjective Perspective Show. You're free